if at all possible. It was trouble. After fighting at Fort Henry and Fort Donelson and Shiloh, he'd had more than his share. He could turn around and fade back into the woods right now, he told himself. That would mean staying hungry all night, but he could stand a few hunger pangs. In the morning, he could move on toward Vicksburg and surely find something to eat somewhere. Whatever was going on in that camp up ahead, the people involved would never know he was anywhere around. There was no good reason he could see for getting himself involved in it. Besides, while he was standing there, pondering on it, the screaming had stopped. Of course, that might not be a good thing. He made it as far as actually turning around. Then he stopped and stood there for a long moment before sighing heavily. He opened his pouch and took out the pistol that had been given him before he left Corinth, given to him by Colonel Nathan Bedford Forrest. Cory confirmed that it was loaded and tucked it behind his belt. He turned toward the glow of the campfire once again. As he got closer, he began to hear something like whimpering. For a moment he thought it might be an animal, then he realized that a person was making that wretched sound. When he could make out the actual flames of the campfire through the trees, he stopped and allowed his eyes to adjust to the glare. Crouching in the brush, he peered through the branches and tried to see what was going on. The first thing he was able to make out was a pair of feet in some worn-out boots, the toes pointing up. The feet didn't move. Cory shifted slightly, moving carefully and quietly, and his eyes followed the legs to the feet. They ended at a man's body, but Cory couldn't make out much of his torso because a woman was draped over him, her back shuddering as she sobbed. Her fearful sobs filled the air. "Get all that damn crying out now, gal," a harsh voice commanded. "I ain't going to be in no mood to listen to it later." Another man laughed. "I didn't think you cared how a gal was carrying on, Enoch." A third man spoke. "You always said a little fighting made the loving sweeter. Ain't that right?" "Shut up," Enoch ordered. "You shot him before I told you to, so all that caterwauling is your fault, Jarvis." "He had a gun. You seen it yourself. That old horse pistol probably ain't been fired in 20 years. It'd likely blow up in his hand had he tried to shoot you." "Well, I didn't have no way of knowing that, did I?" whined the third man, Jarvis. The second man interrupted. "We gonna eat first or what?" "If you don't let that rabbit burn," Enoch said, "best turn it." "I think I know how to cook a damn rabbit." "Just don't burn it. I don't like burnt meat." Cory's mouth tightened grimly. The three men had just killed a man and planned to rape the woman who was crying over his body, and they were arguing about how to cook a rabbit. He wished he could charge into the camp and gun down all three of them. But that would probably just get him killed, and that wouldn't help the woman at all. Reviewing his options, Cory realized that he could not be sure there were only 3 men at the camp. There could be others who hadn't spoken yet, or who were off tending to horses or standing guard. He just didn't know. As far as he could see, there was only one way to find out. He stood up and started toward the camp, this time pushing through the brush and branches and making quite a racket. That would warn the men that someone was coming, and when he had gone a few feet he made sure of it by calling out, "Hello, the camp!" He didn't want to surprise the trio. "Who's out there?" Enoch shouted. "Answer me, dammit! We got guns." "Stand easy, mister," Cory called back. "Just a lost, hungry pilgrim." He came to the edge of the clearing where the camp had been made. "I smelled your fire, and I was hoping you might have a bite to share," he said as he emerged into the open, moving slowly with his hands half lifted to show that he was no threat. "You alone?" The question lashed at him from a short, thick-bodied man with bristly brown whiskers. That was Enoch, Cory thought, matching the voice with the name he had heard earlier. Enoch seemed to be the leader of this group. He had a pistol in his hand. 2 more men stood next to the fire, to Cory's right. One was tall and slender and had nervous hands and eyes. He was carrying a gun, and he made Cory nervous, too. "We'd better shoot him, Enoch," he said. Jarvis, Cory decided. The one who had been quick on the trigger before, resulting in the body, sprawled almost at Cory's feet. The third man was short like Enoch, but slender and rather mild-looking. He had lank, fair hair, and like the other 2, he wore a ragged, butternut-colored Confederate tunic. They all wore civilian trousers, likely stolen. Cory pegged the 3 as deserters, as soon as he'd gotten a good look at them. He managed to smile, despite the presence of the dead man and the grieving woman. "No call for trouble, gents," he said. "All I'm interested in is maybe a haunch off that rabbit." Cory gestured toward the fire. "It's starting to burn, by the way." "Damn it, Darby, I told you—" Enoch began angrily. I'm turning it! The fair-haired man said, as he knelt by the fire and adjusted the spit on which the skin carcass of the rabbit had been impaled. Enoch turned his attention back to Cory, and Jarvis asked, "You want me to shoot him?" "Put that gun up, you idiot. This boy's no threat to us." Enoch lowered his weapon, but he didn't holster it. "What are you doing out here in the woods by yourself, boy?" "You are by yourself, ain't you? You didn't answer me before." Cory nodded. "Yes, sir, I sure am. I'm bound for Vicksburg. I got kin there." That was a lie, but only a small one. He fully intended to marry Lucille Farrell when he found her, and that would make them related. And he would find her. Cory never let himself doubt that, not for a second. "You ain't a deserter, are you? Being good Confederate troopers, we'd have to turn you in." Cory didn't mention the civilian trousers they were wearing, or the fact that they were obviously not attached to any Confederate unit out here in the middle of these lonely woods. "No, sir, I'm not a soldier," he answered. "Never enlisted." That was true enough. He had fought the Yankees in 3 battles and ridden alongside Forrest, but he had never officially been a part of the Confederate Army. Jarvis lowered his gun, but like Enoch, he did not holster it. He said, "This fellow's got a gun. I don't trust him." Enoch snorted. "Only a damn fool'd go unarmed the way things are now. What's your name, boy?" "Cory Brannon." "Light and sit a spell, Mr. Brannon," the big man invited. "Rabbit's sort of small to be split up 4 ways, but I reckon we can manage." Cory moved to the left so that he could step around the woman and the dead man. As he did so, the woman lifted her head and stared up at him with a twisted, tear-streaked, hollow-eyed face. She begged in a soft, tearful whisper, "Help me." Cory said, "There's nothing I can do, ma'am," and stepped past her, turning his back toward her. He could hear her sobs as she collapsed on the body again. "You're a smart man, knowing when not to mix in with something that ain't none of your business," Enoch said. He sat down on one end of a deadfall and motioned Cory onto the other end. Across the fire, Jarvis finally slid his pistol into its holster. Darby still fussed over the rabbit. Juices fell into the fire from the carcass, making the flames hiss and spit. Just out of curiosity, what happened here?" Cory asked. He inclined his head toward the woman and the dead man without looking at them. Enoch sighed heavily. "These folks been traveling with us today. They were bound for Vicksburg, too, like you and us. Just met up with them this morning on the road. But tonight, once we made camp, the fellow decided he was going to rob us. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if they'd pulled that on other innocent folk before. But we managed to shoot him before he could hurt anybody." Cory tried to control his expression at the obvious lie. The dead man was no more a robber than he was. Chances were that Enoch and his companions, as soon as they encountered the couple, had planned to kill the man and molest the woman. Jarvis might have acted a little sooner than what Enoch had in mind, but he hadn't